Today is Monday, February 7th. We'll tell you what the latest U.S. intelligence says about Russia's military buildup around Ukraine and how Russia is getting some fresh support from another American rival. Also, it's now easier for Americans to start stocking up on COVID-19 tests. We'll explain. Plus, which Team USA legend says this is his last Olympics. Why popular podcaster Joe Rogan is responding to criticism again. And how you can get your tax refund in cryptocurrency. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. If Russia invades Ukraine, which it seems almost ready to do, it could cause a humanitarian crisis. That's according to updated American military and intelligence reports. The U.S. now says a Russian invasion would be able to take down the Ukrainian government in just 2 days. Also, that it could leave up to 50,000 civilians killed or hurt, along with thousands of Ukrainian service members. And up to 5 million refugees may end up fleeing the chaos. Russia is calling these assessments nothing but scaremongering. But the Russian military is also sending even more combat units to the Ukrainian border. And the U.S. says Russia has now assembled more than 70% of the troops it would need to totally invade Ukraine. Although American intelligence analysts do not think Russia's president has made a final decision to invade or how far he might go, still the Washington Post cites sources who say the window for a diplomatic resolution seems to be closing. Either way, several world leaders are willing to keep trying. For example, France's president plans to have a one-on-one meeting with Russia's president today. Then he has plans to visit Ukraine tomorrow. But Russia's relationship with Western nations are said to be getting more tense, and the country is starting to build more partnerships out east instead. Russian President Putin met with his Chinese counterpart at the opening of the Winter Olympics last week. Then they released a joint statement reaffirming their support for each other's foreign policy. They criticized what they said was a negative influence the U.S. has in both Europe and the Asia-Pacific region. And they both opposed NATO expanding any further. Remember, the U.S. and its NATO allies are threatening strict economic sanctions against Russia that could hurt Russia's oil and gas exports, among other things, if Russia invades Ukraine. Well, that's another thing Russia and China talked about, and they agreed to a new energy cooperation with a Russian gas pipeline into China. To be continued. Trucks and protesters are still blocking Canada's capital city of Ottawa and beyond. And now Ottawa's mayor is declaring a state of emergency, calling the situation completely out of control. The so-called Freedom Convoy started for Canadians against COVID-19 vaccine mandates. But it's gotten bigger since then and is now also just a rallying point against all COVID-19 public health measures and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Some protesters say they plan to stay put until governments get rid of all restrictions. And now some Canadian leaders are calling it an occupation. So far, there has not been any physical violence reported, but Ottawa police say they're investigating hundreds of calls to its hotline for hate crimes and threats against public figures. And officers say anyone who brings demonstrators supplies like gas could be arrested. But this trucker convoy has caught the attention and financing of people here in the United States, and organizers, many of whom are from the U.S., raised nearly $10 million on GoFundMe. That is, until the tech company stopped that fundraiser once it got wind of some illegal activity associated with the protests. GoFundMe says it'll automatically refund anyone who gave to the fundraiser before it got shut down. But that decision still upset a lot of Americans, like Florida's governor and several states' attorneys general. They're promising to launch an investigation. Unfortunately, the U.S. hit a milestone in the COVID-19 pandemic that no one wanted to reach. The U.S. death toll surpassed 900,000 over the weekend. That 2-year total is greater than the populations of San Francisco or Indianapolis. And most of those deaths happened after COVID-19 vaccines were authorized and available. Still, President Biden says if it weren't for vaccines, the death toll would have been much worse. He says the vaccines have saved more than 1 million lives. And he again encouraged everyone who has not yet gotten their shots to get them now, since the pandemic is far from over. On average, more than 2,400 Americans are still dying every day. But the good news is the average number of new cases being diagnosed is going down. In fact, cases have been on the decline in 49 states the last 2 weeks. New hospitalizations are going down as well. So public health officials say they hope the worst of this latest wave of COVID-19 is coming to an end, and the deaths will start tapering off soon as well. At-home COVID-19 tests could now be easier to get than ever before. For starters, pharmacy chains CVS and Walgreens removed their limits on how many testing kits people can buy at once. Also, as of last month, private insurers have been required to cover the cost of 8 over-the-counter tests a month per insured person. And some insurance companies have partnered with retailers to make the tests available for free when people buy them. On that note, Medicare will soon cover the costs as well at the time of purchase, starting in early spring. Under other plans, people have to save their receipts and then get reimbursed. On top of those covered tests, Americans can still get 4 free at-home tests delivered to their homes, and the U.S. Postal Service will deliver them. The USPS has hired thousands of seasonal workers and converted more than 40 facilities into fulfillment centers for test orders. Already, USPS says it's delivered tens of millions of them. The White House has promised to ship 500 million testing kits total. If you haven't ordered yours yet and you want them, there are still plenty available. Just go to covidtests.gov. More news is coming up, but first, let's take a quick break to thank our sponsor. I was recently talking to a friend about something she was going through, and she felt like it wasn't big enough of an issue to go to therapy. But here's the thing. You do not have to wait until something feels unbearable to get some help. In fact, therapy can help you deal with something before things get worse. I think of it like taking care of my physical health. It's important to be proactive. And with BetterHelp, you don't even need to change out of your pajamas because you can talk to a licensed professional counselor from the comfort of your own home. Whether you're texting, talking on the phone, or connecting on a video call, it's secure and confidential. BetterHelp has counselors who are specialized in stress, anxiety, grief, relationships, and much more. And if you're ever not happy with yours, just change counselors anytime until you find the right fit. It's even more affordable than traditional offline counseling, and financial aid is available. I want you to start living a happier life today. As a listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting betterhelp.com/newsworthy. Again, that's BetterHelp, H-E-L-P, betterhelp.com/newsworthy. Okay, now back to Work Wednesday. Team USA is looking to grab its first gold medal of the Winter Olympics in Beijing today. The Americans have won 3 silver medals already for snowboarding, freestyle skiing, and women's team figure skating. But things did not go as well for one of America's biggest stars, alpine skier Michaela Schifrin. The 2-time gold medalist wiped out in the first run of the giant slalom, an event she won last Olympics. Also out on the snow, a big announcement over the weekend from another Team USA Olympic gold medalist, Shaun White. He says he's hanging up his snowboard after the Beijing Games, at least competitively. Even if he does not take home gold at the Beijing Games, if he comes home with any medal, that'll make him the most decorated men's snowboarder of all time. You can watch his last competition on the halfpipe later this week. Speed skater Brittany Bowe will also hit the ice today, trying to medal in the 1,500-meter race. As of this morning, the Russian Olympic Committee leads the Beijing Games with 6 medals, 2 of them gold. The NFL commissioner is promising to fix the lack of diversity in the league's head coaching ranks. It comes as the NFL faces a racial discrimination lawsuit. Remember, former Miami Dolphins coach Brian Flores sued the league and a few teams, saying he got sham interviews from the Giants and Broncos just so they could satisfy the Rooney Rule. That rule requires teams have to at least interview minority candidates for head coaching jobs. The league already said Flores' accusations about discrimination are not true. But then over the weekend, Roger Goodell sent a memo to the teams admitting there's not enough diversity among coaches, and he called that unacceptable. Now Goodell is promising to reevaluate the league's policies and guidelines. He's also bringing in outside experts to help and calling on current and former players and coaches to chime in. But lawyers for Flores are questioning whether Goodell's call for change is sincere. They said the commissioner has not even reached out to them to talk about making a change, but instead is using this as a, quote, public relations ploy. Once again, popular Spotify podcaster Joe Rogan is apologizing. This time, though, it was not about COVID-19. He was addressing a video compilation that went viral, showing him using a racial slur in several podcast episodes over the last 12 years. Well, in a video message, Rogan said using that word was regretful and shameful, but that he never said it to be racist. And just last night, the CEO of Spotify addressed this latest controversy too. In a memo to employees, he condemned Rogan's language, but said he did not believe silencing Rogan was the answer. He also said Rogan decided to remove past episodes from the platform over the controversy. Reports say more than 100 episodes were taken down. But some critics are calling for more. As we've mentioned before, many rock legends have quit Spotify because they accuse Rogan of spreading dangerous misinformation about COVID-19. Joe Rogan defended some of his controversial interviews, but also said he'll work on being more balanced in the future. Researchers at MIT created what they long thought was impossible. It's a new material that's strong as steel but light as plastic. The research shows this material is actually several times stronger than bulletproof glass, and you need twice as much force to break it than you would with steel. The researchers came up with it by developing a new process to form polymers. Plastics are an example of polymers, along with rubber and glass. Until now, scientists thought it was impossible to make 2D polymers that could stay flat and lightweight. Normally, polymers expand like a cake rising as it bakes in the oven, and scientists say they've tried for decades to make this kind of material. Now that they have, they say it could be used for anything from lightweight coating on cars and phones to forming the building blocks for massive structures like bridges. No word yet on if or when this material will start being used for real. That's it for your main news today, so now it's time for Money Monday, when we talk about one interesting money-related news story. But first, a quick message from our sponsor. It's surreal to me that my baby will be turning 1 this summer, and I'm so excited to see how he continues to grow and develop. And I love that KiwiCo grows with him, sending us exactly what's right for his age. Yep, KiwiCo's subscription lines are for kids of all ages, ranging from infants and preschoolers all the way to teens. Grown-ups are welcome to join in on the fun too. I also appreciate that KiwiCo is a super easy way for me to do something new and fun with my son without any extra work. Plus, it makes a great gift. I sent a subscription to my niece, and she loved it, especially a neat mirror illusions project that came with it. She thought it was really cool and interesting and didn't even realize how educational it was. And she gets excited every time a new KiwiCo box arrives. You'll be surprised at how high quality these materials are as well. These are real engineering, science, and art projects for children. Redefine learning with play. Explore hands-on projects that build creative confidence and problem-solving skills with KiwiCo. Get 50% off your first month plus free shipping on any crate line with the code NEWSWORTHY at kiwico.com. That's 50% off your first month at kiwico.com with the promo code NEWSWORTHY. Okay, now back to Money Monday. If you've been thinking about building or starting a crypto wallet, this could be your chance. TurboTax says if you file with them, you can get your state and federal tax refunds in cryptocurrency this year. To do it, the company teamed up with the largest crypto exchange platform in the country, Coinbase. So this year, when people finish up their filing process, they'll see the option on TurboTax to deposit funds into a Coinbase account. If you don't have one yet, you'll get a link to open one. From there, people will have the option to convert their money into more than 100 different cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin or Ethereum. Coinbase says any tax preparers can actually send their refunds to a Coinbase account since they come with routing numbers, but it'll be a much simpler transfer to do it on TurboTax. TurboTax's website already has a page with the new direct deposit program. You'll find a link by going to thenewsworthy.com and scrolling to the bottom of today's episode notes. Still, we should caution, experts say holding a digital currency is not the same as having a dollar. Crypto is more volatile, and the value tends to go up and down with the market. For example, the price of Bitcoin is down more than 20% so far this year. All right, thank you so much for listening today and every day. We'll be back with much more news to know tomorrow. For now, have a great day.